Good evening, everyone. So, today we are just proceeding ahead with the discussion of the yesterday's topic. So, the topic is same. We are moving ahead with the same discussion. Okay. So, we'll be talking about gender in politics, and this is the second part in this series. Okay. In this particular part, we'll be talking about two issues from the point of view of a feminist perspective. So, we'll be talking about the security issues and the economic issues of the world, right? So whenever we will be discussing this, in the meantime I will just try to move back, okay, and just have a revision of the basic concepts that we will be using today, right? So if you can recall from yesterday's class, we talked about the definition of gender, and when we were trying to define gender, we saw that gender was basically not just an tool to distinguish between the sexes. Rather, it was a tool also to facilitate certain kind of policies formulations, right? So policy formulation depended a lot on the kind of perception that we have about gender, right? Apart from this, we have also seen that there are two kinds of traits or characters. Okay, there are certain traits which are considered to be masculine, and then there are certain traits which are considered to be feminine. Okay, so when we talk about masculine traits, we have uh, traits like power, traits like something which is public, and and so on, right? So when we talk about these things, one thing was quite clear, that opposite um, to these traits, so let's say opposite of public will be private, okay, or opposite to power will be weakness, okay, those were considered to be feminine, okay. And then we saw that it was not just a notion related with men or women, rather either a man or a woman, okay, can be a feminist in the sense, okay, as they, if they acknowledge the part which is, or the role which is played by gender in general, right? So we talked about this, and then we also talked about the gender lens, a kind of lens that we should use to understand the real picture of the world that we live in and how it is influenced by the gender in general, right? So we talked about this. Now what so basically we were asking certain questions, right? So we were asking certain questions when we were using the gender lens. So we were asking that what is the role of women, where are women let's say involved in the formulation of security policies and other policies of the governments in general. And then we were also concerned about a general issue, ki are somehow women represented well in our discussion, right? So this was something that we talked about, okay. Now let's proceed ahead from this on. So so moving ahead, what we'll be discussing today is this, that right. So today we'll be talking about certain topics. These are using gender sensitive lens. So we'll be using the lens that we use to discuss the feminist questions that I just talked about. And then if you can recall from the previous class, we talked about liberal feminism and several other theories, including feminist critical theory and so on, right? So today we'll be using those discussions to understand that what it means, or what is the real meaning of security for women, and how they play a part in this structural world or in this present world, right? Okay. Then we will be moving to the concept of security, and for that we'll be using the myth which is quite famous, which is protection myth. Then we will be trying to accommodate the gender war that is there, or let's say the impact of gender in the formulation of policy formulation related to war. Then we'll be talking about the feminist definition of war in general and security in general. Then we'll be moving towards the economic concepts. So we'll be talking about the labor, okay, how the labor laws are biased. And then we will try to see how several NGOs have come up together, and how they have changed the present scenario in to make it quite fair level for both men and women, right? Right. So we will be discussing this, which is known as protection myth. Right. So what is protection myth basically? Okay. So you will see that whenever we talk about the kind of setup that we have, okay, So whenever we talk about protection of women and children in general, so we have been hearing this since time immemorial. So let's say if you are listening to any kind of story, you will find out that stories talk about that men go to war with a purpose, and the main purpose of men going to war is to protect those who are weak. And who are weak? If men are considered to be the fighters, then who are weak then? Okay, so the indirect reference remains that men go at war for the protection of women and children in general, right? So that's the complete argument that is often portrayed to us. Okay, however, if you look at the data that we have, okay, you will find out that men and children are actually those who suffer the most in any war. Okay, at least in recent decades. Okay, the data that we have suggests so, right? Also, similar data that we have on world's refugee population also suggests the same. Okay, so almost half of the world's total refugee population consists of women, right? And similarly, you will find out that whenever there is a war, the 90% casualty in any kind of war is basically related to the casualties inflicted on women and children, right? So what I'm trying to argue over here is key the kind of role that women play, okay, in general is not as simple as we perceive it to. And this complete myth that we are talking about, the protection myth, is really a myth. Why it is myth? Because if men were really devoted to protecting women and children, then the complete data that we have should be quite different. Okay, so men should be dying more compared to women, but data suggests otherwise. Okay, so what is the suggestion of the data? That only 10% of the total casualties, okay, belong to the armies. Other casualties usually are those of civilians and children. So if you pick up data from recent wars in Vietnam, if you pick up data from let's say wars that are going in Syria, that we talked about in Yemen. Okay, so if you will pick up all of these data, including the data from Afghanistan, you will find out that this is quite true, right? And the report that I'm talking about is the report from the United Nations, and the report on United Nations refugees population also suggests the same. So what we are seeing is that although we are talking that primary role of men as fighters is to protect women and children, okay, there is a stark difference in reality. So reality is something else. Okay, apart from this, you will find out that certain activities, okay, including crime against women, are basically targeted for women. So let's say if you talk about rape, which is a tool, okay, of which is used in war. So one can say that rape is not just an accident of war. Okay, so whenever there is rape, we find out incidences where military personnel or the soldiers are involved in raping women and even minor girls of the opposite army, or let's say of the opposite nation or state. Okay, so that's the stark reality. Now this is not just an accident, right? It is a well planned behavior most of the times. So if you pick up the case study from Bosnia and Herzegovina, okay, you will find out that in during these wars, so basically during Bosnian war, what happened was that USSR, so I should not use the term USSR, but nevertheless, as the war is going on against Bosnia, okay, the Serbian army that was fighting over there, okay, so basically it was an attempt by the Serbian state, okay, to target more and more Bosnian women, and then armies were involved in trying to impregnate them, okay, in order to make them pregnant. Okay, so once Bosnian women get pregnant, the idea was that the upcoming population, as they were made pregnant by the army of Serbia, will be a Serbian population, right? So it was a targeted attack on women in general. Okay, so this complete myth of protection myth, the complete idea that we are talking about, that men somehow are meant for protection and women somehow need protection needs to be revisited, needs to be rechecked. Okay. Similarly, there are incidences of military prostitution. So if we take up the case study from 1970s, we will find out that in Korea, okay, US was, or let's say the Korean government and the complete setup. So not exactly the government, because in such incidences and reports, government usually don't come directly into the picture. So I'm just saying that certain arrangements were made where military prostitution was allowed, or military prostitution was made available for the personals of army of USA and soldiers of USA. Now, what is military prostitution? Military prostitution is the practice in which the personals in army or soldiers of army are provided women to better their living conditions, okay, or to ease their pain, or let's say to ease their suffering, or to make their stay in a particular area more favorable, right? So that is military prostitution, and it was practiced, or it is being practiced, okay, till date in certain forms, but it is might be underreported, or let's say. So what I'm trying to say is that cases such as targeted rapes of women, okay, targeted killing of children and women, then targeted military prostitution, which is again targeted against women, okay, all suggest that women and children are the worst sufferer of um, any kind of war in present times, right? And therefore, the complete idea that war is fought for the protection of women, for the protection of civilian people, is a flawed concept. Okay, that's the argument that we have on the behalf of our feminist friends, or from the school of thought of feminism, right? So this picture that you might be seeing here, in which you might see that there are few children. So there are three children, and then there are two men, or maybe two children of elder age, are leaning towards the wall. Okay, this is nothing but picture from Aleppo, Syria, right? So you will see that this is a war ravaged area, a war torn area, and this area, and even in this picture, you will see that who is basically suffering is our children, right? So the complete idea of using military or using state security as a tool to advance um, certain agendas on international platform is a flawed idea. Okay, and in this, who is worst sufferer? The civilians of that area, or civilians of those countries. So let's say if there is war in Yemen, or if there is war in Syria going on, it doesn't matter that who is fighting for whom and why are they fighting. The ultimate sufferer will always be women and children, right? So this is one of the points that I want to make clear over here. Now let's try to see the other picture, right? The other aspect of the picture, right? So often, most of the times, women are used both in symbolic forms and in real forms to portray the picture that their security is required. Okay, so let's say that we talk about the let's say protection of India, right? So whenever we talk about protection of India, what is the real thing that we are talking about, or what's the agenda that you are hearing in news? You will find out that the agenda that is there is कि हमको भारत माता की रक्षा करनी है. Now it could have been the other way around. Okay, it could have been the other way around, but it is not so. Okay, so in this sense, Bharat Mata is portrayed as a tool to ignite the emotions of people in general, okay, to garner the support. Now I'm not saying that it is being done intentionally by the governments or unintentionally by the government, but this is the fact that women are somehow used as a tool to legitimize the kind of operations that governments are performing, or the kind of wars that government are funding. And you will find out that a lot of money that is being spent on the military maintenance, or is being spent in fighting wars, can again be used to uplift the status of women and children in general, right? However, to keep all of these agenda going on, we keep on portraying everything as they are, or we are trying to protect women and children in general, right? Similarly, such things happened in USA during Afghan war. So basically, you will find out that USA said that it is sending the military even apart from the other issues, even for the protection of women in that area. And Afghan, or basically Taliban in that area, said that as US army is invading, okay, we are picking up arms to protect our women, right? So that's the agenda, or that's the real agenda, or let's say the real narrative that you listen in news, that you keep on listening throughout, right? So what we are trying to see is that something is amiss, something is missing in this discussion, and that is that other picture is never talked about. So we talk about wars, and whenever we talk about war, we see that those countries at the same time who tend to, although countries are using, let's say, the feminine picture to invoke the emotions in general, they are never resorting to paying attention to what is happening to female population or those who are underprivileged, including children in general, right? And therefore, what we are seeing is that the biggest thing that is to be addressed is that although the complete war is fought in the name of woman, okay, or is fought for the feminine gender, okay, but as soon as any element of feminine gender is brought into the battleground, it is considered to be the sign of weakness, right? So let's say if two countries resort to discussing issue rather than going into war, okay, it will be considered as a sign of weakness, right? So it will be considered, so let's say diplomacy is usually considered a sign of weakness. And however, such things are changing. Similarly, you will see that till recent, although we talked that men and women are equal sufferers whenever there is war, so we can come to this conclusion that this very idea that women needs protection and men are providing the protection is a flawed concept, number one, okay. And as it is flawed concept, the real conclusion is this, that both of men and women are participants in any kind of war that is involved, right? So in general, civilian population is a participant in any kind of war or security issue. Okay, that's the first argument. Now, when you will look at the second aspect, you will see that as women are ignored, or let's say the participation of women as soldiers is ignored generally, okay, their rehabilitation after the war is over also is ignored, right? So let's say there is war going on in Syria, okay, do you really think that there is no woman who is fighting, okay, or there are no women who are picking up the arms, okay? So it is not so. But as soon as, but their activity is not acknowledged in general, and therefore as soon as the war is over, there will be an attempt to rehabilitate the soldiers, okay, who are men. However, at the same time, those women participants who participated in war, okay, will be neglected, and therefore their economic well-being will also be neglected. Now that's the second aspect of the complete issue, right? So what we are seeing is that although even men and women are participating, okay, the role of women is generally not underlined or is not considered to be very important, and therefore they lack in getting their fair share, including the recognition, right? So even recognition is not awarded in general, right? So this is the second discussion that we have. Now, apart from this, the third discussion that we need to have over here is that war is used as a tool even in politics, in domestic affairs. Now, to prove this point, I will just take up the example from America. Okay. Now you will find out that during Afghan war, okay, or let's say I will just take up, I won't go into much later date. Rather, I will just go into a smaller variation of time. So I will just move to a time let's say just a decade ago or 2 decades ago, or let's just start it from 2001. Okay, so if you can recall, there was an incident, 9/11 incidents in 2001, when there was an attack on Twin Tower of America. Now, when this happened, what was just happening before this time, right? So, if you will recall the time or the kind of images that were there in news related to America, you will find out that it was the era of men moving with basically suitcases. Okay, and it was the era when US Army was opened even for participation of women, and women were participating in large numbers, right? However, as soon as so let's say before 9/11 in 2001, okay, it was the era of people like Bill Gates, okay, who were actually pursuing the foreign policy by putting their billions, or let's say by putting their money in international market, right? However, after 9/11, okay, so the relative a decade between Gulf War and 9/11, okay, is considered to be, let's say, a time of peace when it comes to American society, or when it comes to world in general, okay, because America was not involved in any kind of war till in that era. Okay, so that is considered to be time of peace. So when you will look at the time of peace in American history, you will find out that the people who are hailed, that people who are well recognized, are people like Bill Gates, okay, who are basically traders, so and businessmen. So these are the real tools. However, as soon as 9/11 happened, okay, the attack on Twin Tower happened, the newsrooms suddenly got converted, okay, into areas or into uh, platform over where female anchors were sidelined. Okay, so female anchors were sidelined in that era. Okay, and suddenly war heroes were portrayed. So policemen, firefighters, okay, became war heroes, right? And you will notice that, as I have mentioned it over here, you will also notice that what was the shift. So we will find out that before 9/11 we had people like Bill Gates and so on, and after 9/11 the presidential candidate that we have is George W. Bush. Now, when you will recall if you can recall the American election in this era, you will find out that George W. Bush was highly favored, okay, much because he portrayed himself as belonging to the military fraternity. Okay, so basically, those candidates were favored in America in this time who had certain backing of military, or who had earlier served in military in this era, right? However, starting from 2008, you will see that we had Obama. Okay, so Obama basically is the shift. So basically, the war was not fought, or let's say election was not fought on the issues of war or war-related issues. Okay, so it was a shift, and then Obama was re-elected. Okay, and it was also the time when there was much peace. Okay, the American policy was not that aggressive as it was in the era of George W. Bush, or previous to that era, right? So what we are seeing is that somehow there is a shift from literalized masculinity to a more balanced approach, right? Recently, in 2016, the recent elections that we have, okay, in America, Trump got elected. Now, Trump is a businessman and has no, let's say, link either with any of the government services, okay, or any military services. So if you will see, Trump is pure businessman, okay, and he is having no record of military services, or let's say any government service, right? On the other hand, Obama was having the track record of serving in government services. And apart from this, Trump is the first president in America to be selected as um, first president of America who was a non-government official till that time, right? So what we are seeing is there is a shift, and this shift is changing due to the shift in narrative, right? So the election of George W. Bush was um, fought on the issue that basically what is required is key, there is need for more social security, or there is need for more militarized performance or more aggressive approach of US military in the region, right? So it was one of those agendas. Similarly, you will find out key with even in this era with the onset of COVID-19, okay, what has happened is key suddenly our heroes have changed. Policemen have become our heroes, okay. Doctors have become our heroes, okay. And at the same time, after the recent let's say altercations in Galwan Valley, militaries have become our heroes, right? Or military men have become our heroes. So our heroes keep on changing depending on the kind of narrative that is fed to people in general. And therefore, one needs to ask that what kind of policy is being persuaded, or is there the need of having a thinking based on the kind of gender lens that we looked on, right? So what if there is more participation of women in policy formulation related to security? What if there is more participation of women at platforms where these security decisions are taken up? So if you will look back, you will find out that usually whenever there is any post or any let's say any decision related to security is to made, the representation of women is quite less. Okay, most of the time it is almost 2 to 0, and women are not considered as good fighters, right? However, this perception has started changing. Okay, this has started changing. So yesterday I shared a picture. Okay, right? So it has started changing, and we have seen that there is a greater participation of women in general now. Okay, in military. Okay, and as there is a shift in the participation of women in military, that one more thing is happening, that their participation is being acknowledged and their position is being acknowledged in the roles of security. And apart from this, if we move from our perception of what is right and what is wrong, you will also find out that there are certain things that we need to keep in mind, right? So just a minute. ओके सो वेयर वेयर वी कहाँ थे हम सो आई वाज जस्ट सेइंग कि अगर हम इस मुद्दे पर ध्यान देते हैं कि जो एक्चुअल डिस्कशन है वो क्या चल रहा है कि जो वुमेन पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं वो अच्छी फाइटर्स नहीं होती, राइट? सो अगर वुमेन्स को अच्छी फाइटर्स बनना है, ओके, या हमको इस पूरी चीज को डिफरेंट तरीके से सोचना है, तो ये बहुत जरूरी है कि हम कुछ क्वेश्चंस अपने आप से पूछना स्टार्ट करें या जनरल में पूछना स्टार्ट करें. नाउ ये क्वेश्चंस क्या हैं? व्हाट आर दीज क्वेश्चंस? यू विल फाइंड आउट कि ये क्वेश्चन अगेन वही क्वेश्चंस हैं जिसको हम लोगों ने यूज किया था जेंडर को डिफाइन करने के लिए. सो वी यूज्ड सर्टेन सेट्स ऑफ क्वेश्चंस टू डिफाइन द काइंड ऑफ gender lens that we had. So we should again ask that what is the role of women that is there in issues related to military, okay, and what if women pick up more roles which are concerned with security issues, right? And then third issues that we have is that if masculinity is not the right approach to, or is not the right way to approach the complete issue related to security, then what can be the right way to approach the issue of security, right? So we do have another perspective which deals with the feministic perspective, right? Now this is the real definition which is provided by the feminist versions. So what is this? That it is diminution of all forms of violence, physical, economic and ecological, right? So feminist क्या कह रही है हमसे? So what are feminists arguing is this, कि we should minimize the use of any kind of violence, let it be physical, let it be economic or ecological, right? So the kind of security that women are talking about is not just concerned with physical security of a state, okay, rather it is concerned with economic security of its people in general. And even apart from economic security, there are issues of ecological security, right? So ये सारी चीजें considered होनी चाहिए. Now here is a thought, okay, from Franklin D. Roosevelt. Now the thought says true individual freedom cannot exist without economic security and independence. People who are hungry and out of job are the stuff of which dictatorships are made. Right. So again, Franklin D. Roosevelt, although I will not say that he is the one who is supporting the feminism, okay, but you will find out कि यहाँ पर जो जिस ट्रू फ्रीडम की बात की जा रही है, ओके, जिसमें सिक्योरिटी शामिल है, ओके, वो इकोनॉमिक सिक्योरिटी को इंक्लूसिव है, राइट? सो यू कैनॉट हैव complete freedom or security apart from economic security or even ecological security in present times, right? And therefore people who are hungry or people who are in job are the perfect recipe of creating a dictatorship state or a dictatorial state. So अगर आपको dictatorial state create करना है तो आप लोगों को भूखा रखें, आप लोगों का जो जो जॉब है उसको छीन लें, ओके? सो एक डिक्टेटोरियल स्टेट क्रिएट हो जाएगा या फिर स्टेट को डिक्टेटरशिप में रिजॉर्ट करना ही पड़ जाएगा, ओके? So that's a different notion to think, okay? However, the issue और जो हमारा ending point है, जो concluding point है, वो ये है, I will just sum up everything. Number one, कि जो women हैं, they do not need protection. Rather, they are equal participants in both providing security and then in availing security, right? As men are, okay? So अगर मिलिट्री में आप और मैं नहीं हैं, okay, तो हमको भी सिक्योरिटी की जरूरत है, right? Now this is the one thing that we need to acknowledge. Apart from this, जो दूसरा चीज हमको acknowledge करना है वो ये करना है कि जो women का portrayal है that they need security has been misused by governments since time immemorial, okay? And often you will find out throughout history that somehow the issues related to women are related to any kind of war. Okay, so the issues related to women या फिर portraying women as the weaker sex provides the legitimacy to the war. Okay, ये war को legitimize करने का एक तरीका है. And therefore we should think कि क्या war really में जरूरी है, because it is not the real reason. किसी भी war में there is a huge economic cost, there is a huge civilian cost, and there is a huge developmental cost. Okay, so आप डेवलपमेंट के टर्म्स में बहुत पीछे आ जाते हैं, आप लेट्स से इकोनॉमिक के टर्म्स में बहुत पीछे आ जाते हैं, एंड सोसाइटी जो है वो इन जनरल पीछे चले जाती है, राइट? सो व्हाट इज रिक्वायर्ड इज कि जब भी हम वार के बारे में सोचें तब हम फेमिनिस्ट अप्रोच को भी सोच लें. फेमिनिस्ट अप्रोच क्या है कि डिस्पाइट ऑफ बीइंग फर्म ऑन अ पोजीशन, डिस्पाइट ऑफ लेट्स से ट्राइंग नॉट टू कनेक्ट, okay, let's try to connect with the other state with which we are at war. So let's use other means or of diplomacy, okay? So diplomacy should be used so that wars can be prevented, because prevention of war in general will lead to a better economic security for both men and women. And fortunately this has been happening throughout the world now, okay? Women are more actively participating in militaries, okay, and armies, okay? At the same time women are also let's say participating in world forums where such discussions are made. So you will find out that there is participation of women, and therefore slowly the masculine view of war has been reshaped or is being reshaped into a more balanced form of idea of security, which we just discussed, that for a feminist approach, security lies not only in having a physical security, but it also lies in having economic security and at the same time ecological security, right? So these things are something which are important, okay? तो इसके बारे में हमने बात की, okay? So we have other share. So okay, we have one question, let me just pick it up. Okay, Pari, thanks for that. Okay, now let's move ahead with now we have certain slides left, so we don't have much slides left. However, the idea that we are going to cover over here is quite huge, and therefore I will do one thing. I will take this up in the next session. So let's do one thing, that let me pick this in tomorrow's session, because it will require another half an hour or so. Okay, so somebody has raised the hand. Okay, please unmute yourself and ask the question. वी हैव लॉक्सी. लॉक्सी प्लीज आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट कर लें और क्वेश्चन पूछ लें. So let's do this. हम लोग अब बात कर लेते हैं. That will be much better. Yeah, what's the question? Okay. Any other question? किसी और के पास कोई क्वेश्चन है? No one? Right. So tomorrow we will proceed ahead with this discussion. हम लोग कल इकोनॉमी देखेंगे और एक्चुअली में इस टॉपिक को okay, so we have this question: is Modi government's lack of providing job a sign of dictatorship? Okay, tough question. कल द हिंदू में एक एडिटोरियल आया हुआ था और उसमें उनका सेम आर्ग्यूमेंट था कि somehow we are moving to dictatorship, but right now I do not agree. It will be, let's say, बहुत जल्दी है इस बात को कहना कि एक काइंड ऑफ डिक्टेटरशिप है, बिकॉज द सर्कमस्टांसेस आर नॉट वेल. अभी जो सर्कमस्टांसेस है बहुत अच्छे नहीं है, इकोनॉमिक सिचुएशंस जो है वो अच्छी नहीं है, और इसमें कहीं ना कहीं केवल और केवल गवर्नमेंट्स का रोल नहीं है. कहीं ना कहीं इसमें जो कैलामिटी हम फेस कर रहे हैं, ओके, द करंट पैंडेमिक दैट वी आर फेसिंग इज आल्सो रिस्पांसिबल. और देयरफॉर आई थिंक कि however there are articles, there are certain opinions जो argue कर रहे हैं कि मोदी गवर्नमेंट steps, okay, are quite harsh. Okay, so if you will see that a student from JNU or DU is actually under arrest. Okay, and I just forgot her name. Somehow it is slipping in my mind. Okay, याद आ जाएगा. So I will, जैसे याद आता है, I will quote it again. So she has been detained without providing the real issue कि उसको detain क्यों किया गया है. So basically it seems as if she has been detained under preventive detention rules. Similarly, you will find out that certain political prisoners were kept in Jammu and Kashmir, which were also political prisoners. Again, the grounds of detention was not made clear. Okay. Apart from this, there are incidences not only on behalf of government, rather on the behalf of other authorities. Okay, where there is excess use of brutality. Recently, in one of the police stations across the country, okay, 2 people were just beat to death. Okay, उनको मार के मतलब पुलिस स्टेशन में इतना मारा गया कि they died. Okay, so such things are happening. Okay, and when such things are happening, one can simply argue कि are we moving towards a state where there is a kind of dictatorial arrangement? Okay, because the kind of steps that were taken by the Hyderabad police in the rape case, okay, where the convicts were simply killed, okay, or the narrative is that they were trying to run away, okay, and police had to resort to firing, and ultimately encounter was done. Okay, so वो एक let's say argument था. However, judicial system को आप replace नहीं कर सकते, ये भी एक दूसरा argument है. And there are certain things जो हम उस केस में भी पूछ सकते हैं. Okay, the case can be कि आप पुलिस वाले रात में 3 बजे कैसे ले गए, अचानक से उनके हाथ से अगर हथकड़ी होगी तो वो अचानक से ओवर पावर कैसे कर दिए, वो भी उसी स्पॉट पे पहुंचने के बाद. So there are certain aspects जहां पर बात चल रही है. Okay, apart from this, the kind of policies that we are seeing कि किस तरीके से हमने recently labor laws को suspend कर दिया है. Okay, so labor laws has been relaxed, or I will say that they have been suspended temporarily. Let it be temporarily. So जिस तरीके से हम steps ले रहे हैं, okay, they are resorting to the kind of state which can lead into dictatorship, right? ये हो सकता है. Now, when we talk about dictatorship, it is not that the prime minister of a state or government of a state only resorts to dictatorship. When such kind of society is created, okay, anybody who is having power, okay, will start behaving in a dictatorial manner, and this is happening. And therefore it is happening. But I won't say that just having lack of jobs can be a sign of it. There are other signs also, but lack of jobs has, I guess, other issues which are more contributive to it. Okay, so lack of jobs के लिए जो बाकी issues हैं वो ज़्यादा important हैं, right? So economic slowdown due to this COVID-19 is a major issue. However, इसके पहले भी lack of jobs थे, but still हमारी population भी बहुत ज़्यादा है, उनको ध्यान रखने की जरूरत है. जिस लेवल पे या जिस स्पीड पे इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट हो रही थी वो स्पीड पे नहीं हो रही है. ओके, so somehow it is not only lack of job but the kind of policies जो गवर्नमेंट ले रही है, the kind of privatization steps जो गवर्नमेंट ले रही है. Okay, I don't see any rationale behind that कि उससे चीजें ठीक कैसे होंगी. But there are arguments both in support and against, and there are more arguments in support of the Modi government. Okay, so it's up to you. अगेन मैं ये चीज आपके पास छोड़ रहा हूँ. आई विल जस्ट आस्क यू कि आप कल का जो एडिटोरियल है द हिंदू का, आप उसको एक बार पढ़ लीजिए. राइट, आई विल जस्ट रिकमेंड यू टू गो थ्रू दैट आर्टिकल. इट विल क्लैरिफाई फर्दर मोर थिंग्स. ओके, एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस?
Sir, recently only the Uttar Pradesh government has relaxed labor laws, right? Or is there any other state government that has relaxed the labor laws?
I'm not getting it. So which states have relaxed the labor laws?
In the recent times, sir. Uttar Pradesh did it, I think, a week ago or something. Are there any other states who have relaxed them recently?
See, I don't remember it so. Okay, कि और कोई स्टेट मुझे याद आ रहा है, but it is general. Okay, अब जिसको भी करना वो कर सकता है. Okay, that's the reality. Okay, what I'm trying to ascertain over here is कि आपने एक टूल दे दिया है लोगों के हाथ में. Okay, now relaxing of labor laws important क्यों है? Okay, या हम इसके ऊपर डिस्कशन क्यों ही कर रहे हैं? इवन इफ केवल एक ही स्टेट ने किया, लेट्स जस्ट अज्यूम कि उत्तर प्रदेश ने ही किया. ओके, क्या कर रहे हो आप क्या अथॉरिटी दे रहे हो कि जो प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स हैं, जो प्राइवेट ओनर्स हैं, बिजनेसमैन हैं, दे कैन फोर्सफुली और लेट्स से दे कैन चेंज द टर्म्स ऑफ योर वर्किंग कंडीशंस. सो अभी आप केवल 8 घंटे काम करने के लिए एलिजिबल हो. ओके, आगे वो बोल सकते हैं कि नहीं, वर्किंग आवर जो है वो 12 घंटे होने चाहिए और आपको करना पड़ेगा. प्रायर टू दिस आप किससे 12 घंटे काम करवा रहे हैं, इट वाज नॉट अलाउड, अब वो अलाउड हो सकता है. ओके, लेट्स से प्रॉपर टाइम पे आप वेजेस नहीं दे रहे हो या वेज कट कर रहे हो, प्रॉपर कम्युनिकेशन नहीं है, नाउ दीज थिंग्स विल बी अलाउड नाउ. ओके, और आप एक जगह से स्टार्ट करते हो सो इट विल सीप डाउन थ्रू आउट द कंट्री. ओके, ऐसा कभी नहीं होगा कि कहीं से भी स्टार्ट किसी एक रीजन से स्टार्ट हुआ और वहीं रुक गया. इट इज क्वाइट टफ. ओके, ये इंडियन सेटअप में इसलिए पॉसिबल हो पाता है क्योंकि इंडियन सेटअप में अलग अलग जो गवर्नमेंट्स हैं उसमें कई बार सेंटर में कोई और पार्टी रूल करती होती है और स्टेट में कोई और पार्टी रूल करती होती है. राइट, सो अगर स्टेट में कोई और पार्टी रूल कर रही है तो यूजुअली वो सेंटर के पॉलिसीज के साथ अगर नहीं जाना चाहे तो दे कैन अपोज. बट आई विल सिंपली से कि जितने भी बीजेपी रूल्ड स्टेट्स हैं, दे विल वन डे और टुडे और टुमारो दे आर गोइंग टू रिजॉर्ट टू इट. यही होने वाला है. ओके, it's just a matter of time कि कब हो रहा है. Okay, so this is going to happen. Now that's the fact that is visible. Okay, ये दिख रहा है. Okay, any other questions from anyone?
No, sir.
Yeah, Shubhank, you are saying something?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay, fine. So we have Pari, Sachin. So shall I end this discussion today? इसको यहीं खत्म करें?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's end this discussion. इसको यहीं खत्म करते हैं. Tomorrow, see, I can proceed with the economic discussion, but there are two organizations that I need to talk about. There is role of one organization which is SEWA, SEWA, and then there is one more organization that is DAWN, DAWN. Okay, so I will just share this for a minute and then we will end this. So basically, this will be your task, the primary task for you to take it up. Okay, so you just need to read about these two associations or organizations. One is Development Alternative with Women for a New Era, and then Self-Employed Women's Association. Okay, SEWA. Right. So ये जो दो organizations हैं इनके बारे में आप have certain backdrop ताकि मुझे कल जो time लग रहा है वो कम लगे, वो थोड़ा कम time लगे. Okay, so if this is possible, that will be great. Right. Did you people see that slide? आपको दिखा वो? Right, so ये वो दो हैं, DAWN and SEWA. Right, so you just need to go through these. इसके बारे में certain information, just go through their Wikipedia pages. कि अगर Wikipedia में इनसे related कोई information है, just go through them. Okay, and just try to find out कि ये actually में क्या किए, and then it will make my task quite easy to move ahead with tomorrow's class. There is one more thing that we'll be discussing tomorrow, which is quite important. It is GNI. Okay, fine. So I will just end this discussion over here. Stop share. Okay. So जब भी हम okay well knowledge. Okay, thank you मनोज, राइट? ओके, सो हम लोग जो अभी डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं, कल आपको क्या करना है, सेवा के बारे में और डॉन के बारे में पढ़ कर आना है, और जो आपका जेंडर डेवलपमेंट इंडेक्स है GDI, उसके बारे में भी पढ़ के आना है, राइट? सो ये तीन चीजें हैं जो यूज होगा. नाउ इफ यू हैव बीन थ्रू HDI, ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट इंडेक्स, तो आपको GNI बहुत इजीली समझ में आ जाएगा. सो अगर आप GNI पढ़ने ही जा रहे हो, आई विल रिकमेंड यू कि ऑल्सो गो थ्रू HDI. ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट इंडेक्स पे पढ़ लो, उसके बेसिक पैरामीटर्स क्या हैं वो पढ़ लो, एंड देन देयर इज अ कंक्लूजन. तो मैं आपको कंक्लूजन बता दे रहा हूँ कि जो कंट्रीज अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं, या दोज कंट्रीज हु आर हैविंग गुड पोजीशन इन टर्म्स ऑफ good indicators of HDI, are also good at GDI, which is Gender Development Index. Now, what is HDI? HDI is General Human Development Index. It takes into account complete population. Now, what is Gender Development Index? Gender Development Index takes into account sexes. So they will talk about the development of male and then development of females. Okay, at the same time. Okay, तो ये चीज हमको देखनी है. Now, both are quite important. तो एक बार आप उसको just go through them, क्योंकि वो इकोनॉमी में भी आपके काम आएगा और अगेन आंसर राइटिंग में भी काम आएगा. सो ऑल्दो वी आर टॉकिंग डिस्कसिंग अबाउट बेसिकली जेंडर इन पॉलिटिक्स, आई विल आल्सो टॉक अबाउट दैट व्हिच इज इकोनॉमिक कांसेप्ट. ओके, उसके बारे में हम लोग बात करेंगे टुमारो, राइट? ओके, एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस? सचिन, एनी क्वेश्चंस? ओके, फाइन. सो let's end this session today. यहीं पर खत्म करते हैं इसको, और see you tomorrow again at 7. Yes, Sachin, tell me.
Yeah, no question, sir.
Okay.
My mic was it took me some time to unmute my mic.
Okay, fine. Anyways, so let me end this session. So see you tomorrow, and in the meantime, do remember to revise it. Now there are certain resources that I will be sending you. Okay, so if you people have your email IDs, okay, just send it to me. Have my email ID, and I will be sending you the resources that will be helpful for you in the preparation of these topics, right? So you must have got this email ID. My email ID is maruti@percepts.in. And in case you need any other support apart from, let's say, this technical one, or let's say apart from the doubt sessions, okay, you can have this email ID, which is percepts.in, right? So one is for support, and one is, of course, mine email ID. Okay, I will. Can I just request you people कि आप लोग एक बार इस mail ID पर just send me a mail, okay, with hi or something, with your name and everything, so that it gets saved. Okay, क्योंकि मेरे को अभी यहाँ पर बैठ के नोट करना पड़ जाएगा. So I will just ask you people कि आप लोग नोट कर लो maruti@percepts.in and just text me, right? और in case you need any other help, let's say कि अगर आपको topic से related कोई help चाहिए, then have contact me. And in case you need other helps, okay, institutions के बारे में, if you want to know more about our institution, just go through, use the other email, support@percepts.in. Okay, apart from this, our videos are available at YouTube. Go through them and do like and subscribe them, okay, and also share them, right? वो कर लेना आप लोग. Okay, चलो. So let me end this session. Have a nice day and take care. Right? Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Shubhank, anything?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.